Morning, Gio. We're going to go through here and talk about angles of elevation and depression. So we're going to continue with our right triangle trig. Not learning any new math, but we're just going to go from words and setting it up. So go ahead. Let's go with what we did yesterday. Pause the video here and try to solve the triangle. Find all the missing angles and side lengths. All right. Again, how I would do it is put our angle measures and our side lengths in of what we have. We need to find two angles and one side. So I would go through and do the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. All right. And we would subtract the 64 to both sides. So you get b squared is equal to 225. Take the square root of 225, and that gets you 15. Got all the side lengths. That's awesome. Now we set up a trig ratio. You either find angle A or B. I'll find angle B first. I'll label this the opposite and hypotenuse. So that's going to use sine. The sine of angle B is equal to 8 over 17. And then when we're solving for an angle, we use the sine inverse, cosine inverse, or tangent inverse. So the sine inverse of 8 over 17, make sure your calculator is in degree mode, 28.07. So we'll say B is approximately 28 degrees. And then since I know the three angles of a triangle add up to 180, add up 28, 90 degrees, subtract it from 180, you get 62 degrees. So that is solving. All right. Now we're going to go through angles of elevation and depression. Elevation goes up. All right, you're elevating, elevator. And then depression means we are going downward. Okay, so we're going to be using words, setting up triangles. All right, so angle of elevation is the angle between the horizon or horizontal line going left to right and the line of sight to an object when you are looking up. So this would be the horizon piece here. And this would be the line of sight. The angle of elevation, and then is our angle here, angle of elevation. So we're looking straight ahead to looking up. The angle which is made is the angle of elevation. All right, and the line of sight is the imaginary path your eyes follow when you are looking at an object. And then when we get to the angle of depression, the angle of depression is congruent to the angle of elevation. You're going to see that alternate interior angles will be one thing I'm going to bring up, but we'll be able to draw the triangles out. So Lisa, here's Lisa, standing at the bottom of a hill. The angle of elevation, so here's the hill. Top of the hill is 64, so she's looking ahead to the top of the hill is 64 degrees. If the hill is 79 feet tall, how long is the path up the hill? All right, so they're saying the hill is going from where she is up, right? So we want to find this path of the hill going straight up the hill. All right, so what we have is a right triangle, 79 degrees. Angle of elevation is 64 degrees. We want to find how high the path is up the hill. So again, we're using our trig that you guys have been learning. The only thing that's different is you have to now come up with that on your own. So this is opposite and hypotenuse, so we're going to use sine. The sine of 64 is equal to 79 over the hypotenuse, which is x. Cross multiply and divide. x is going to equal 79 divided by the sine of 64. Gives you 87.89 degrees, or 87.90, not degrees, sorry, but looks like we're talking feet. 87.9 feet is going to be how long she's got to hike up that hill. All right, deer standing 42 feet from the base of a 75-foot tall tree. Here's my tree. It's 75 feet tall. I'm not even going to attempt to draw the deer, but the deer is standing 42 feet away from the tree. What is the angle of elevation from the deer to a squirrel sitting atop the tree? So we can draw this piece in. And then we want to find the angle of elevation down there. So label the triangle opposite and adjacent, which is going to give us tangent. So the tangent of our angle is equal to opposite 75 over adjacent, which is 42. And then in warm-up, we said if we're solving for the angle, we are doing the inverse function. So inverse tangent of 75 over 42 gives you 60.75 degrees, or we'll round out and say 61 degrees. All right, angle depression is the angle between the horizon and line of sight to an object when looking down. So now we're going to be up in the air looking down. So this is still the horizon or horizontal line. This is our line of sight. And then this is going to be our angle of depression. Okay? So now it's just the opposite. It's basically, we were setting up triangles that look like this. Whoops, that's not a triangle. All right? Angle of depression now is going to set up the triangle just backwards and flipped around. Okay? So if you're thinking, and I'm going to use lines here, angle of elevation, angle of depression, that's depression. Down here is elevation. Those are alternate interior angles. So if you draw your triangle upside down or right side up, the angle of elevation and angle of depression technically are going to be the same measure. So just FYI on that. But now we're just looking down. So angle of depression from a fisherman on top of a cliff. So here we're on top of a cliff. And we got to draw it upside down. So this is what I like to do. Okay? Because if this is our cliff, remember, if he's up here looking ahead, right, our angle of depression, it has to go from our horizontal line to the line of sight. So this is our horizon. Our angle of depression is actually right here. So if you're drawing your triangle like I am, you need to put your angle of depression down here. The elevation and depression are going to be the same angle. So if I'm standing up on top of a hill looking down at you, that's the same angle of depression as the angle of elevation from you looking up at me. So I would personally put the 27 degrees down in on the bottom there, right? The angle to a boat, so the boat's out in the water, 320 to the base. How tall is the cliff? We're trying to find X. And based off of this is opposite and adjacent, which is tangent. So tangent of 27 is equal to X over 320 degrees. X is going to equal 320 times tangent of 27, which is 163.05. What are we? feet. Tower of an ancient castle, 231 feet. And cast a shadow that is 388 feet. What is the angle of depression the sun makes with the ground? So if the sun is up here, right, again, we have to go with the horizon, so the angle of depression is on the outside. Alternate interior angles lets me put it on the inside. Angle of elevation, angle of depression are the same thing. They're just from a different point of view. Set it up. Tangent of our angle is equal to opposite over adjacent. And then we're solving for the angle, so we want the tangent inverse of the angle. And that gives you 30.76, so we'll round up to 31 degrees. Okay, so the biggest thing, set up your triangle. I personally would write my triangle going the same direction every time, right? So if I'm drawing my triangle here, the height, the base, all that stuff, my angle of elevation is down here on the bottom. My angle of depression is outside of the triangle on the top, but they can go right in there because they are congruent. So it's nothing new in terms of math. We just have to get the right setup and then plug away through it. So have a good day. Good